Devlin.
Yeah, the next rule.
The platform.
Rugby League Hour, courtesy of MicroBio Solutions. We are going to be doing a review of the round, Up the Wars, a special Warriors segment. Joining us as the legend today is Russell Packer. So many questions to ask that guy, life and times and league. Head-to-head we go, Tone. 6 separate sporting topics. The Effluix Cleanup Award. TK's Top 5 is going to wrap it all up. I have 5 quick-fire questions before we even start. Are Penrith still the gold standard?
100%.
Are we meant to take the Dogs, Tigers and Knights seriously now?
I'm going to say yes. Think so.
Is the season over already for Souths?
Definitely.
On the evidence of all 3 matches so far, are the Warriors a bona fide top 4 side?
No.
And did Taylor May deserve a suspension for that hit on Reece Walsh?
I think we need to change the rule. That's a yes.
3:06, let's kickstart.
Look out! The captain's away!
The Rugby League Hour. Brought to you by MicroBio Solutions Limited. Makers of Effluix. The new way to clean up dairy effluent and wastewater while increasing the fertiliser value of your irrigation in one easy step. Visit microbio.co.nz for more.
Strong, powerful, try!
8 matches over the weekend. Results: Panthers over the Broncos Thursday night. Warriors over the Raiders. Narrow 18-10 in Christchurch. Roosters smacking the Rabbits 48-6. Bulldogs getting their first win and also first clean sheet at home since 1996. 32-0 over the Titans. Dragons had a good lead over the Cowboys but succumbed 46-24. West Tigers beat Sharks. Go figure, 32-6. Eels 28 over Manly yesterday. Very narrow win, 28-24. And the Knights beating the Storm, even narrower, 14-12. Points table at the moment: Cowboys, Roosters, Raiders, Panthers, Eagles, Eels, Dolphins, and Storm in that order.
The Weekend Roundup.
Tony, let's start on Thursday night. Penrith, 3 in a row. Are we watching a team that we're going to look back on in 10, 15 years' time and say that this side is potentially, alongside that St George side of the 60s, the greatest rugby league side that has played the NRL?
Well, they win the grand final again this year, Marty. No one's done that for a hell of a long time. St George, I think you have to go way back to find a team that went on a run like what Penrith are at the moment. I just don't think it's a team you're talking about. I think if you're looking at one player, and they keep producing these unbelievable halfbacks in Australia, is that Nathan Cleary probably... I watched that game and just thought, what else can he do? Like, he was on fire. Up against the Brisbane side, yes, they were lacking Reynolds. They lost Walsh through injury with that nasty cut under his eye. Payne Haas didn't play. They're struggling for injuries, and Penrith just took them apart. I just think they are the benchmark, and their depth is unbelievable. They've lost 3 of their biggest players, Curacao, Kikau, Crichton, and they've just come back out and they look as good as they were last year.
Well, you've just kind of asked and answered the question I was going to ask. If you take out the top 3 players from most sides, what are they going to turn into? And you look at that Brisbane side, you know, people talk about the spine, but I mean, I add the prop to that because he's their go-forward guy. So you take out him, you take out their organiser, you take out their playmaker at the back. Are they in a real trough now, Brisbane?
I'll tell you what that is, Marty. That's a real good indication of what happens if you do lose key players in key areas. So Haas, Reynolds and Walsh, and their team fell over, arguably up against the best in the competition. You think of the Warriors lose Johnson, they lose Fanua Blake, and they lose either it's Roger Tuivasa-Sheck or...
well, they've lost Egan, so take out those guys.
Or any one of those. They're in big trouble. So the only team that looks like they can succumb to injury at the moment because of their depth is Penrith.
Does it mean then that perhaps stretching it to 20 teams is too much? Because what you need is 30 or more players per team, don't you, who are of that standard? And then there are superstars like these guys who you can't replace. You don't replace Payne Haas.
No, you can't replace him. He's going to go down as one of the greats and probably one of the best front rowers that ever played the game because he's so young, along with a number of Brisbane Bronco players. They'll win some finals. Don't worry about that. But I just think at the moment, Fisher Harris and Leota, Leota's been absolutely outstanding these first 3 games. Fisher Harris, he didn't play on the weekend, but they just put another big front rower in the middle of the park and he did the job for Penrith. Brisbane on the other side, as well as everyone else that has their first pick for the first 3 to 5 rounds of the competition, when you're losing players, and that's what happens with injury, Brisbane, they've got the injury voodoo at the moment.
Yeah. And they might get them back at the end of the season, which is the better time to have them back, obviously.
The best time to have those injuries are now because you get them back, they're a little bit fresher and they kick on into the back end of the season. But at the moment, they're struggling for players. There's talk about Tavita Pangai coming back after his boxing match last night and being brought straight back into the team this weekend. It's going to be an interesting time for Kiwi Wilders over the next 3 or 4 weeks. Does Reece Walsh play after that gash under his eye?
4 to 6 weeks, they're saying. 4 to 6 weeks, they're saying he's out. Does that mean that Taylor May should go for a skate as well? And when the referee says that he didn't bend down to the tackle, people will get on to the weekend games. I just want to touch base on this. That we talked about this last week after the Nakora hit as well. I just can't understand how the sport thinks it's going to continue to get away with these kind of incidents and not punishing the players for them.
Well, they've got to police them a lot better. You know what I mean? Like you've got arguably 8 cameras on the ground. Yep. You've got 2 sideline umpires. You've got the referee in the middle. You've got the guy in the box in the bunker calling games, and they still get it wrong. So you've got to police this type of tackle better. And the policing should be about, if you are going to tackle, if, for instance, Lachlan runs at me through this window here and he's looking fair and square at me and I give him a hiding in a tackle, that's his problem, all right? But if he's facing somewhere else and he's receiving a pass or he's going to pass a football and I'm eyeing him up, then I've got to make sure it's a legal tackle.
That's a duty of care, isn't it?
Well, it's a duty of care from the governors, definitely, because that's where collision becomes a real grey area. So Taylor May, he could see that he was going to tackle Reece Walsh, as Nakora did the week before, as a lot of players do when they come in and they clean someone up. That's why you're not allowed to touch the halfbacks now, Marty, on the kick chase. They police that 100%. But this tackle of Taylor May, what it raises is visual. Like, if you are looking at a player and he isn't looking at you, then I should have the onus on me to make sure that tackle is legal. Now, head-on-head is not legal. You know, in rugby union you do that.
That's a straight red card, mate. That's a straight red. That's the thing.
So it comes down to the governors policing it properly. If you get it wrong there, all right, then review it, because you've got the man in the bunker, go back and say, actually, that's illegal, like rugby do, because I think both sports can learn a hell of a lot of each other.
I believe so.
And I think that part rugby's got right. We don't know if they get the decision right 9 times out of 10.
Or the punishment right.
But at least they say, hang on, we've got this rule, we're now policing it, now let's police it properly. With the Taylor May one, why would Reece Walsh, who's the attacking player throwing a ball, get hit blindsided, split his eye open, he's been basically scarred for life, and then spend 4 to 6 weeks on the sideline, and Taylor May gets to play for another 4 to 6 weeks? Doesn't make sense.
Roosters against the Rabbits. What did you learn from this game? More about the Roosters or more about South Sydney?
More about South Sydney. So the Roosters are going really well. And a good indication of how well the Roosters are going is when Tedesco's at the back having the field day. So you talk about Cleary playing so well on Thursday night. Mate, Tedesco was... If he's back in the number 1 for.
But it was against Souths, mate. And everyone's given them some.
It doesn't matter, because he's the indicator that Sydney City, when he's going good, so is Sydney City. You know what I mean? Joey Manu just touching the ball and putting it over the try line. Those games are priceless for Joey Manu, because he goes through unscathed and without any Ks on his clock. South Sydney, what I learned? Well, Demetrio's in big trouble. And I think if you go back 12 months, Sammy Burgess walking out and making a lot of noise around equity and around players being treated differently, and I know this from being an ex-player, when you get that feeling in camp that you're not being treated the same as everyone else, and there's one set of rules for someone else and another set of rules for you, it ain't a happy camp. And I'm pretty sure that Russell Crowe will be having a call this week to Demetrio and saying, listen, you know, probably here's a couple of weeks, 2 or 3 weeks. If you can't get the train back on the tracks, mate, I'm sorry, but you're going to have to go. And the other part about this is Wayne Bennett's still looking for a club.
Well, okay. Well,
he's been there.
They've lost 12 or 16. They've lost 5 in a row. I just hate this thing about, he's lost the dressing room and the players don't play for him anymore. Your bloody job is to get out there and play.
Well, look, I agree, Marty, but I'll tell you the reality of rugby league is, first of all, the CEO comes under pressure and he shifts it straight to the coach. All right, and the players are the ones that are sitting there, the mercenaries, with all the dollars in their pocket and the rifles on their back, ready to go to war. And then they decide whether or not they're going to go to war for you or not. All right, and once the coach goes, the CEO's back under pressure. You know what I mean? And generally, what happens is they bring in another coach, and he gets the boys to arm up again and go back to war. So it's always going to happen that way. Yep, players are under pressure. Cody Walker's I don't know how long Cody Walker can hold on to the first grade spot with the way that he's playing. Latrell Mitchell, there's been enough said about him. But the man who's under the most is Demetrio to try and get them. Look at that side. Like, that spine is unbelievable. You know
well,
what
they
I mean?
should. I mean, this is the whole thing about them. They were a rabble at the moment, but they should, on paper, be right before the start of the season. What am I? But I was picking them top 8 certs.
Yeah.
Absolute certs for top 8. That just seems silly just saying top 8. Maybe a top 6 or a top 4 side. They're 0-3. Can they come back from this?
Oh, look, I think they will, but I think they need a new coach. I think they need a new motivation. I think at the moment, what we're looking at is residue of the Sammy Burgess and what he actually said. And until they can get that right and start treating everyone the same and pulling in the same direction, you've got a circle of blokes holding a rope, and you've got 4 of them running backwards and 4 of them running forward, and then none of them are together. And until you bring someone in, and I've mentioned Wayne Bennett, someone like a Wayne Bennett to come in there and do it again, he'll pull that side together. Don't you worry. He'll get them feeling good and they can play.
Dogs, Tigers and Knights. Dogs, a great win for them against a really poor Titan side who've now lost Tino, and that's probably their season gone. The Tigers, you serious beating the Sharks. Knights, as you said earlier, you tipped them to beat Melbourne. What does it mean when 3 teams like that who were all 0-2 win? What does it tell us?
It tells you that across the competition there's a lot of chinks in everyone's armour. You know what I mean? When the Sharks go out and lose that game, not lose that game, get a hide out.
Yeah, they got bashed, mate.
They got bashed up. You go, well, what was I watching the last 2 weeks?
Exactly right.
And as the coach, you go,
I hate the tipping comp.
Where did that come from? And then you see the Bulldogs, and you know, like we said last week, they actually played with a bit of starch. Then they come up against the Titans with a new coach in Desi Hasler, lose Tino, their biggest, most devastating front rower on the field. You go, well, mate, you might be the new West Tigers for the season.
It feels like
you
it.
You know what I mean? And the other thing with that for the Canterbury Bulldogs is the confidence they get out of that one. You know what I mean? They start to go, well, actually, we can put this one together. You know, and as far as the West Tigers go with Benji, look, Benji's a great player. I remember saying this. 13 years ago? We were talking about Benji Marshall. It was this game we're playing here at Eden Park. And he was throwing these balls and they were a split second off. And this guy said to me, it was Benji Marshall's fault. I said, no, it wasn't. I said, Benji Marshall's seen things that no one else can see. And he's throwing the ball to the right spot. It's the other guys can't read what he's doing. And I think what you have at the moment is no one can read what Benji's doing. And what he's doing is he's straight out of the game, and he's bringing his own philosophy to the game. I really like it. I haven't seen or been excited about this type of approach for a long time. And that win on the weekend, I didn't see it coming. No way in the world.
No, I don't think no one picked that, mate. No one picked that. No one. We got 3 more questions to go before we get on to the Warriors. We always have a special Up the Wires segment separated, ladies and gentlemen, so that we can spend a good 8 or 9 minutes nutting about this. North Queensland, they're 3-0. They're the only team to win their first 3 games. Do they deserve to be sitting right where they are at the top of the points table at the moment? Because I always go on about the table doesn't lie. That's the bit that you can't invent, that bit there, right?
No, and Tony Payton, he'd love that. He'd love where he finished last year to be sitting there three in zip and top of the table. And his players they've got strike all across the park. I still don't think they're playing their best football. You know, I think there's still a lot in there for the Cowboys. I think what it's showing for the rest of the competition, that there's lots of holes everywhere. You know, Manly go out to a 14-0 start. You think they're going to blow Eels off the park.
I thought that, yep.
You know, and then they come back, the Eels, and then all of a sudden you've got a game at 20 to 30 points, and you're going, where has that come from type thing? What it says to me is we're still ironing out the creases in these, there's another 3 or 4 rounds to go. And I think once the next 3 to 4 weeks plays out, that's when we look at the top 8.
Okay.
And we go, right, this is what the top 8 would and should look like come the middle of the season. Origin, we can start picking teams, winning and losing through that, and the shape of what it looks like in the back end of it. The good thing about Tony Payton sitting at the top, 6 points, he's going to take that every day of the week.
Cool, every coach does, mate. This is the thing. This is what I mean. I don't care how you win those games.
Not at all.
You just tick those wins. Was that the worst non-try decision we've seen so far this season? We're going to see a fair few. Manly getting dumped on yesterday. A really crucial point of the game against the Eels, because if they'd closed that gap to 2 points with about, I think, 8 or 9 minutes to go, she was anybody's.
She was Manly's.
Manly's to win?
She was Manly's to lose.
Okay,
I reckon, like, I've watched that and gone back and watched it and looked at it just to get a real dead set take and opinion on this. They stuffed up. I don't like the bunker. I think it's a waste of time. And here's another example why they shouldn't have it. All right, the referee was there and he saw exactly what was going on. I'll tell you what was going on. The number 14 in the Eels was gone, out on his feet, had nothing left in the tank. And when Tommy Trbojevic walked into the line, he leant on him because he was tired. He didn't go, oh, I'm going to go and make the tackle next to you.
Yep.
He went, thank God you're there because I can look like I'm making a tackle. Any coach would see that and go, you got off. You know what I mean? Because you should have been closing up that space, and that's why the runner came from the outside in and went through your hole because you left it there because you were not fit enough. You know what I mean? And
But that's an obstruction call. Surely the ref is in the best position on the field to decide that then, isn't he?
I don't reckon you need a bunker guy because this is the other problem. The bunker then looks at it and goes, no, he obstructed the player from making a tackle. He was never... You play that and you let him try and make the tackle. He was never going to make that tackle in a million years. I could play that 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10 times he doesn't make that tackle. And this is where the bunker should get the sack because that bloke, I guarantee you, he ain't in the bunker next week. Guaranteed.
Finally, the top 8, Cowboys, Roosters, Raiders, Panthers, Eagles, Eels, Dolphins, Storm. How many of those are going to be in the top 8 at the end of the season? You just tell me yes or no as I roll. Cowboys.
Yes.
Roosters.
Yes.
Raiders.
No.
Raiders.
No.
Raiders.
No.
Panthers.
Yes.
Manly.
Yes.
Eels.
Maybe.
Dolphins.
No.
Storm.
I'm actually going to say they're going to be fighting it out.
So out of that, there's probably 3 spots still to come, which is perfect for...
Oh, superb!
Up the wires.
How good is that?
Warriors, Dogs, Knights, Broncos, Dragons, all on 1 and 2. Didn't play the best, but did enough to win. My observation, for what it's worth, is I thought that game against Canberra 2 or 3 years ago, and especially when Stacey was in charge, the poor bugger for those 9 games or whatever he was, Warriors wouldn't have won that game. It got into the tough arm wrestle stage. But this Warriors side, I was watching and thinking, no, this team is going to win this game because they closed out those games last year.
Yeah, that's right. And they're getting better at that. You know, like I thought at halftime when me and you were talking, I thought they should have been up by 20 points.
Should have been.
All right, they had 3...
Pass the goddamn ball, mate.
They had 3 blokes who decided that they were going to score the try when the pass was the try. If they pass the football, there's 3 tries. They're at the 24-0, and they're coasting in that game as opposed to fighting all the way to get that 18-10 win. What you take out of that game, Marty, their attack is as good as anyone's. You know, Sean Johnson's choice of pass, all but one on the night when he threw a ball in the line and it hit a play. He'd gone past. He wasn't concentrating. Sean Johnson's passing game over the last 3 weeks has been absolutely superb. And what that's doing is it's changing defensive lines in the teams that they've played so far. I've seen enough to say, actually, he can do that to the whole competition. So attack-wise, they're really good. The other part about that is Canberra ain't no mug, you know, and he kept them to 10 points. So if I was a coach, I'd be really happy with the way that they played and kept them out because they kept them in the game by not passing that football, and then Canberra just couldn't put the finishing touch on them. You know what I mean? They had an opportunity and they bit in the Warriors, and defensively they put in big efforts. If this isn't the game that says that Roger Tuivasa-Sheck should play fullback.
Oh, for God's sake, you just got... This is idiotic. Roger played so good at centre, 201 yards on the ground, man, and he scored the try that made the difference.
He 201s on the ground because he went to fullback because Tuapiki went to the HIA, and that's where he looked his best and made the decisions and against broken line play. And if this doesn't tell Andrew Webster that Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, while Chance Nickel-Croxstad is out, should be playing fullback because it opens up more room for the likes of Sean Johnson. That makes his attack even better. Then I don't know. You're gonna get your pants pulled down, I reckon. So look, Tuapiki's going to be a good player. I get that, but at the moment, while Chance Nickel-Croxstad's out, Roger Tuivasa-Sheck should be playing fullback.
What did it tell you about Canberra? I can't remember who their number 9 is. Levi. I think it's Levi, their number 9. I tell you what, that guy is the most profligate player I've ever seen. Get your hands off the ball, mate. How many times does he get the ball and he just runs around, doesn't know what the hell he's doing?
Yeah.
The Canberra side didn't look dangerous to me, which was the only worry about that game because it didn't feel to me like they were going to come on and score another 7 or 14 points. And that's what I mean. The Warriors kind of laboured their way through it. But having said that, this competition is about that, and it's about chalking up those wins, isn't it? The not so pretty wins.
Yeah, that's right. You've got to take that when you know you should have been out by a hell of a lot more. And Andrew Webster said that during the week. You know, I'm really happy with the way that we're playing. I think we've got some good games in us. I think that's one that was a good game, but they just didn't get the points on the board. And Canberra did struggle in big stages. Like when it came to making a difference there in Canberra, they go out to the lead. Tomoko goes down that right hand side, beasts his way over the try line to get him back in the game. They should have kicked on. That's what I'm saying. But the defence was really good. And it stifled them.
But doesn't it tell you a lot about the Warriors that they're able to overcome those flat patches during games? Because everyone has it during a game. I mean, an 80-minute performance is ridiculous, isn't it? Never bloody happens. So you've got to absorb those moments where you're just on the back foot a bit, you're defending a bit, it's not going so well, and have the confidence to come back and play your game again. I mean, these are the things that I wrote down afterwards thinking, I think these are really good positives for the Warriors.
Well, yeah, it's all about momentum too, Marty. Like if you can keep the position and possession of the football and the momentum moving in the right direction, the Warriors actually doing that first half quite comfortably. You know what I mean? They should have been up by, I thought, 24 points in the first half. But they just weren't finishing the playoff. And that's just a little bit of ring rust. And if I was putting a punt together for this weekend against Newcastle, I think you easily get 13 plus for the Warriors. But if you're going to want to go 21 plus, I think the Warriors are just about to put a big score on someone.
Text messages here coming in. Kempy, I say the Wars are a top 4 side. Here's why. Based on the Sharks game, which was a close 4-point loss, the comeback against the Storm, close 4-point loss. Also the following players to come back, Egan, Klukstad and Nakorde. Okay, so that means you bring those guys back, they're a top 4 side. Yay or no?
Yeah. Arguably yes, but again, I'll say this. Last year they all played at the top of their peak, and they've all got to come back and play there at the moment. And at the moment, I'm not seeing everyone hit that form.
It's round bloody 3, mate.
That's what I mean. That's why I said, let's give it another 3 weeks.
Warriors are a good side, Tony. Why aren't Johnson's up and unders landing on the try line instead of 20 metres out? See, I can understand against Xavier Coates because they didn't want to give that guy room to run, did they? So they actually brought him forward a little bit so that they could get closer to it. Is this a tactic or is this just a missed up?
Yeah, so, in the NFL, when you watch a lot of NFL, you both watch a lot of NFL. When they punt the football, all right, you'll see the fullback, he'll catch the football and he'll go to a knee because the defenders are right on him. It's the same concept in rugby league. So depending on where they finish in their yardage set is where Johnson's going to put that football because he's given his defenders enough time to get down there. Now, that rule in itself, and we heard the coach talk about that last week, Agar, say that the kicking change to that rule has been really critical. Now, you're not allowed to leave early anymore, so you can't get down there early. So when Johnson puts them high bombs up, he's got to allow enough time and enough distance for his players to get down there so there's no movement on the
How much physical
back.
Distance are you talking, Tony? Are you talking it's another 10 metres or something that those players, which would normally be right there and chasing down, so it might even be 15 that they're making up.
So
right?
So what happens is, if we look on the other side of the coin from an offensive player, so you're catching the ball, and if it's a poor kick, you've got an open field.
Yeah, right.
So if you've got 2 wingers back and the centres drop back onto the sidelines, you've got 5 players back there coming at you. So the kicking game and where they position finish for that kick on the next tackle is really important where he puts it and has got to give his chasers enough opportunity to make that kick good. Now, if he kicks it like that Texter just said, an extra 10 metres and puts it on the try line, well, they're still coming at the 20.
Right, okay, so he's got a whole field in front of him to run it.
That's right.
Okay,
So the whole purpose of that nice high up and under is so that when they catch the ball, the defenders are right there, and that's where they want to start from.
One more to go. Just listen to your podcast, boys, the first 2. It's episode 3 today. Kempy, you're changing your tune a bit, bro, and you and Dev need to choose your top 8 now and stick to it. Injuries are going to happen, Origin. Time to pick boys after 3 games. This texter says, I got Penrith, Manly, Roosters, Boys, Eels, Broncos, Warriors, Melbourne. It's not a bad 8.
Yeah, not a bad.
Who are you taking out of that 8?
Not a bad 8. I'll take the Eels out, and I think
asterisk beside them.
I think Melbourne will struggle.
I got an asterisk beside Manly as well.
I don't think Munster's going to play a hell of a lot of football.
Well, apparently not. No.
No. Well, I've had the same injury, and you can't play on it. No matter, I don't care who you are. Superman couldn't play with a torn adductor. It's actually torn off, and every time he runs, he's just going to be in pain.
Finally and quickly, Warriors crowd. Tohu says it brought them home. Does it really make that much of a difference? Because that was a wild crowd in Christchurch.
Home ground advantage. Does it make a difference? Of course it does. And I think when you're looking at the Warriors support, this up the Wars chant, and everything around the Wars and the Warriors, and mate, the last 5 years, Marty, been a nightmare for them. They came back to New Zealand after the pandemic and they hit the ground running, and we're all waiting for the wheels to fall off, and they didn't. And I think what that was the resilience that they built, being overseas and knowing how to travel. Yeah, so they travel and they won most of their away games. And I think now what we've got is we've got people who have spent 5 years in the doldrums going, thank God I've waited and I've done my time and I'm out. And you guys are with me and we're all on the bandwagon. The thing about the Warriors bandwagon is it's a whole different geographic. You know, you've got different people. You've got people like you with Warriors jerseys on. You've never seen a Warriors game before because Super Rugby's crap. So they all jump the fence and they're sitting down there with the Warriors. And I think it doesn't matter where you're going to take a game in New Zealand, they will sell out any stadium at the moment, as long as they're winning.
3:30, we'll take a break, come back. Special guest is Russell Packer, of course played for the Warriors. We all know his story because he's good and bad in this story. A hideous crime. He ends up going inside of that. He comes back and plays again. Fascinating story. Can't wait to talk to him a few minutes away here. The Rugby League Hour. You're in the Rugby League Hour, courtesy of MicroBio Solutions.
He's a ledge.
What a pleasure it is to welcome onto the program Russell Packer, people. He made his debut round 10, 4th of May 2008 for the Warriors against the Raiders. 110 games for our Warriors, get that. Played for St George, the West Tigers, represented New Zealand Māori, the Māori All-Stars, and also, of course, the Kiwis. Russell, welcome to the show, mate. Thanks so much for joining us.
All right, good boys.
Hey, kia ora, Rusty. Hey, mate, just when you're looking at the games these days, do you look at those front rows and you think, I would have towed them up back in my day? Or do you look at them and go, they've gone to a different level?
Oh, I look at them and think, man, there's no fat ones anymore, eh? Nah, I guess just the game's evolved, eh? Well, you mentioned my debut back in 2008. It's just so long ago now, and less subs. Front rowers have got abs, and, you know, the game's just so quick now, so it's evolved so much in the space of 20 years.
Russell, you've had such I call it a checkered life. Everyone knows your story and everyone knows your history, but one of the most inspiring things is that you came back from the darkest place and the darkest places and carved out a real life for yourself, both on and off the field. Congratulations to you, mate.
Oh, yeah, thanks. Like most young Māori men, had a bit of a interesting upbringing, and me and Kempy were having a yarn the other day, actually. It makes some of those experiences when you're young turns you into, good qualities for league, and you're aggressive and all that, but then, the other side of it is you can fall off the tracks, and, I've definitely done that. My history is there, and been in some real dark places, and just getting out of it, supporting teams, having the rugby league community behind me. I went to jail 10 years ago now, so
wow.
I'm 34 years old, so I was still very young when all that stuff happened, and it's made me a better man today.
Yeah, good on you, Rusty. Hey, mate, when you're looking at the Warriors, let's have a look at them in the first three rounds. They're one win from two games. They could have easily won the other two, but they couldn't get that across the line. What do you make of their side these days, mate? Sean Johnson at 35 still going well, do you think?
Yeah, like Shawnee, what a year that he had last year, and just as a fan, Kempy, the Up the Waz movement, and just the buzz that it created for rugby league in New Zealand, it was amazing, and not the start that they would have wanted in terms of results, but it's, as you know, it's a long season. They had a tough first up loss, and then what a way to lose that game over there against Melbourne, and pretty great result, to be honest, after two losses like that, to come out and have to fight hard for a win and just get one on the board, and the old cliche, but once you get one win, then you chase another one and build momentum. So I thought the game, on the weekend against the Raiders was really good. The Raiders are always, they just built to be tough, aren't they? That squad, that's how Ricky has them play. Whoever comes into that team, they're just built to be gritty. So, that's what they got.
Russell, what you're saying, and we were discussing it just briefly before, is that these are the kind of wins that you have to get if you want to make an 8 and make a 4, don't you? They're not the pretty ones. They're not the ones where you should have scored 30 points and you didn't score 30 points, but you actually grind those wins out, and they had to go through that.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. It's you reflect back on the season when you've had a good one, and, you say, we managed to get that win when we probably shouldn't have, or we defended our line when, we were tired and we managed to escape with the win. So I think this Warriors team, obviously I've had a lot to do with Webby over the years, our time at the West Tigers, and, what he's managed to do in a short space of time has been remarkable. And just see how the squad is, not only put together talent-wise, but how they play for each other. So I think as washed up has been these days, just the Warriors fan, it's pretty awesome to watch, to be honest.
Rusty, when you're looking at the sides that are running around, and you're watching players in your own position, you've got Haas, Fisher Harris, Leota, Carrigan, Whanua, Blake. Do you look at any one of those and go, man, I wish I was still playing here. I'd like to put my jersey on and mark up against that, Blake?
Oh, I've had experience with most of those boys except for Moses, but I don't really get itchy feet. I just started coaching a local team here in the Bay of Plenty in Te Puke Te Pāmu Rugby League Club they just got going after being out of the competition for a long time, so they restarted their club. It's a beautiful community club to be a part of, so I'm getting my rugby league fix now, coaching, and I guess as a young boy growing up in the country, similar to yourself, Kempy, outside of the kind of rugby league meccas, it's a tough gig to play rugby league versus playing rugby union. So we were all shown the ropes by people that gave back. I had David Lomax pull me out of Foxton and help me on my pathway to league. So I'm looking to give back and do the same.
Was it always an idea of yours that's what you wanted to do? And when the young people are looking at you and they're looking at you for advice, how does that make you feel, man?
Oh, I guess it's a reflection that you just get older, eh? So, I'm closing in on getting closer to the 40-year-olds where I think, man, I'm getting old. But, in saying that, I started playing men's league down home when I was 15 years old. So you go 20 years ago, and I think any sports in general, whether it's rugby league or rugby, it has the ability to bind a community, and you have the ability to learn from people that are different from you and make new connections, and that's what I've been loving. Probably one of the driving factors is to share some of the knowledge that I captured over, a long journey in rugby league, and hopefully be able to guide, someone similar to myself, or Tony Kemp, or Simon Mannering, or Ben Matalino, or Sam Rapida that's come out of not in the big city, and they've had a pathway that's shown to them. So that's a bit of a driving thing too. I think that's a give back that most people that have careers like that end up finding it calling for.
Yeah, that's awesome, Rusty. You're talking about that. You just recently had a catch up with the Chiefs, didn't you? They asked you to come up and talk to their boys. What was that like, being like the rugby league guy talking to a Super 15 side?
Yeah.
Super 12, Tony, these days, by the way, mate. Super 12, get with it, mate.
That's how long it's been since I've watched it.
I won't get into the semantics, but I'll just leave it as a super team. But that journey that you mentioned about, the twists and turns of my life, it's quite a compelling story. And, I've done quite a few, keynote speeches in different organisations, but the Chiefs was really good, eh? I spoke about finding your authentic self, and again, Kempy and I were talking about whakapapa and a journey into Te Ao Māori that I've been on in the last, 9 months, and it's helping me to find myself as a Māori man, and just having a deeper understanding of ko waio, who you are, where you've come from, and help you shape where you're going to go. So just spoke to those kind of things, and about life in general. So
really nice catching up with you. We thank you so much for giving us so many minutes, Russell. Awesome, mate.
Awesome. Have a great day.
Cheers, Rusty.
Russell Packer with us. He's a ledge.
Head to head.
This is where Devlin goes 6-0, 6 separate sporting topics, 30
Got
seconds
spanked
on
last
each. For and against a pro and con. Lachlan is going to judge this week.
Okay.
Tony.
Hey,
So,
Lachlan, look at me.
Yeah.
Look at me.
I'm looking.
Don't be bullied.
you
Well, I
choose.
feel bullied by you as well.
You choose
okay, yeah, well, you better be.
for or against. Having not bent into the tackle, Taylor May should have got at least 4 weeks.
I think we're going to hear more about this, Marty. I think Taylor May is going to go down in history as the bloke that changed the rule for the blind tackle. The blind tackle's been around for a long time, but you know what? The blind man can see it coming, but the bloke who carries the ball can't. And Taylor May, this is probably the last of it. And look at Reece Walsh's face. Of course, Taylor May should have got 8 weeks.
Bloody hell. I mean, you argue that in about 20 seconds, and it's really difficult for me to sit there and argue against it. I'm going to make some kind of an attempt at it. And that is simply that rugby league can't mimic everything about rugby. And the way that rugby is continually frustrating its own fans at the moment with head clashes and red cards. And there's a really fine line between incident and accident. I personally think that he has to go for this, but I think that rugby league has got the opportunity to learn off rugby here and get it right, because rugby hasn't got it right. And in the biggest games in that sport, in the World Cup finals, both men's and women's, they've cocked it up with red cards. So tread carefully here, but do get it right.
That's 1-0 Kempy, because you
Of
pretty.
course it's
You
1-0 Kempy,
pretty
mate.
much.
I'm a loser, mate. There's no way I was going to win that.
You agreed with him, essentially.
For or against, Penrith are the best team we've seen in the last 2 decades, Tony.
I can't argue with it. I seriously can't argue with it. I didn't think they'd win 3 in a row, let alone it looks like 4. And as long as Nathan Cleary's in that side, probably 5 or 6 they'll get under their belt. They're emulating the great St. George, the white boots. We talked about who wears pink boots. Seriously. Most front rowers these days wearing pink boots. Mate, Kurt Sorensen, what would he say about that?
Well, he would tell you. He wouldn't tell you to take them off. He would have taken them off.
You'd get slapped with them. That's what he would do with that. And I'll tell you right now,
So bullying.
Penrith are the benchmark, and yeah, I can't say anything else.
I think that you would have been saying the same about the Melbourne Storm if they hadn't had their titles taken off them for rorting the salary cap. I think there's a good argument for the Roosters being in that position as well. We see it all the time. We see
Are you calling
a
them
side
cheats, both of them?
Well, no, I just see. Well, certainly the Melbourne Storm, the Antichrist League. But I think, and we see sides that get it together for 4 or 5 seasons in a row. Penrith, if they hadn't have won that grand final against the Brisbane Broncos, we wouldn't be talking about them in such exalted terms. They would have lost 1, won 2, and lost 1.
How many have they won?
They've won 3 in a row. I think I win that one.
No, that's Kempy.
For God's sake,
Mate, 3 in a row. 3 in a row. There's no one better.
Pro or con, for or against? From what you've seen and gleaned the last 3 weeks, the Warriors are definitely a top 4 side.
No, not yet. I got to say, and the texter said this, we'd still need a new quarterback. I think the side becomes stronger when he gets back. Waiting, and we're not a top 4 side with Lussick at dummy half, and I can tell you right now, unless they put Roger Tuivasa-Sheck back at fullback and Nickel Crockstead comes back and plays a season that he does then move him out to centre, maybe we're a chance of a top 4. But I still think there's a lot of water to go under the bridge for at least another 13 teams here, and the Warriors are one of them. They need to get it right. Egan needs to come back.
I think you're a bitter, twisted old man who was once a Warriors coach and now they're successful and you wish that they had been when you were there. And I think Andrew Webster is exactly
Do you
right.
have a burner phone?
You take a portion of the first game against the Sharks, the first 20 minutes. You take a huge chunk out of that Melbourne game. And you take, as you said earlier, the attacking intent that we saw against Canberra. If this can all be combined into a run of games, then the Warriors are going to be the most dangerous side for most of these teams that are out there. They're going to score points against you, aren't they? And I think that they can bounce back to to make the top 4. You're going to have to win 16 games. I think I win that one.
No, that's Kempy
For
again,
God's
mate.
sake, that's 3 0. This is going to be a comeback for the ages, Kempy.
For comedy's sake, you did all right.
This is going to be a
you
comeback
can't
for the
win.
ages.
There's only 5. You can't win.
For and against, South should keep the coach and sack the players.
You know what? I'm actually going to say yes.
You just argued against that.
I know, but I'm going to give you a chance here. But I'm going to tell you why. Because the CEO should get the sack. You know why? Because he's the one that keeps putting the coaches in place. And you got this one wrong when you sacked Sam Burgess. And I've seen it happen time and time again. Like, stick with your coach. Look at Wayne Bennett. Look at Bellamy. Look at Cleary.
They've had success.
Of course. And you're going to go through some rough patches.
Ten Hag, the Manchester United manager, is facing the same kind of calls for his head.
He should have got sacked last year.
I just think that in this situation, I would normally argue that the players need a slap and they need to be reminded of the privilege that they have, turn up and actually play. And you don't need a coach to motivate you to do that. If you're not motivated to do it for yourself, for your fans and everyone else, then get the hell out of the dressing room and take your car park with you, mate. However, on this occasion, I just don't think Demetriou is a great coach. 12 losses in 16 games, 5 in a row. Record speaks for itself. Devlin's on the comeback.
Yeah, I agree. Yep, that's good. That goes to Marty.
I'd give you that one.
Yep.
For or against, Roosters are back, baby. They are a side to be feared.
Ooh, feared. I'm going to go, yep. I think that they are back. I think Tedesco, like I said, is leading the way. When he's a happy chappy, then everything seems to flow because he's got his hands on as much as the dummy half has got his hands on the football and pops up all over the park. And what that does, it just creates confusion in defence, but also brings Teddy and what they call confidence with the other players around him. I think he got too much strike power out there. Manu, Walker, man, he will look good, Walker. At 7 on the weekend, and Tedesco, those three are the key.
I'd like to argue with you, but I'll argue against it only because at the moment we've only had 3 games, and that is such a poor South side that I don't know what you can read into that. They whacked 48 points. Souths were lucky to get 6. They were very fortunate to score any points at all. They looked pretty average against Brisbane in Vegas. They won that game.
That's it.
Okay, they won that game, but they won it by 10 points. I didn't think they looked that great. Okay, against Manly, they were pretty average, and in this game, they beat South. So, look,
No, sorry.
God,
when you said the Roosters didn't look good in that win over Brisbane, you lost me totally.
Okay, last one then, and I'll try and resurrect here. For or against, Roger needs to go back to fullback.
100%. Seriously, I called it from before week 1. If you're going to bring Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, who won the NRL Daily M of the Year, and throw him to centre where he's never played before in rugby league, and expect him to play like Joey Manu, it just ain't going to happen. Why? Because he ain't Joey Manu. Joey Manu's a totally different footballer. Yes, you can emulate him, but if you look at Roger's game, he's not emulating him. You throw him back to fullback because Tuapiki goes for HIA, and he wins them the game. He puts it out of reach. That's why he should be there.
I don't know what the hell the game are you watching, but at centre he was absolutely brilliant. And that run he did where he had a little bit of space, you could see, you just give him a foot.
How'd they score their first try? Who missed the tackle? I don't know, what did I text you? When you play in centre, where can't you tackle?
Around the legs. Okay. But at least he'll teach Rocco Berry to pass the goddamn ball if he's standing there, won't he? At least Rocco Berry will listen to him.
Give up. Kempy just floored you on that one.
Mate, that try he scored in centre with 201 yards on the ground. I think that showed that he's got the step, he's got the pace, he's got the ability to put him down.
120 when he was at fullback when Tuapiki was off.
Wasn't
Influx Cleanup Award.
All right, Tone. Who are you going to give it to this week? And this award simply is about cleaning up on the field. It can be a player, it can be a team, it can be a situation that caught your eye where somebody has gone down into the sewer and come up with a mouthful of gold.
Well, I met this young bloke from Rotorua back in 2010 when I was managing the Kiwi side. We walked to this beautiful hotel in Melbourne and it was his first test. And he was like, he reminded me of a 15-year-old coming up to Auckland to play with the bright stars in his eyes. He's 300 games into a career and he has cleaned up many, not times on the football field, but many blokes in the way that he's been playing the game, and I think deservedly picks up the Cleanup Award, the Influx Cleanup Award, and that is one Jared Warrior Hargreaves. I think he's a great man. He's look, when we had him in the Kiwi team, you'd pick him just for his personality. He brought the best out of everyone. And when I seen him give Abdo a hungi on the football field, not many people could do that, but Jared could do that. So I think he's cleaned up in more ways than one. Like he's brought culture, he's brought passion, he loves that black. The other thing I love about him is he just loves that black jersey, and him getting 300 games in this competition. And you know the worst thing about this, Marty? The biggest hit in rugby league was probably put on him when he was playing West Tigers. And that back rower hit him, and he got up and seen stars and still produced 300 games.
Who was the Brisbane bloke that was it? Sam Thaiday smacked him a couple of times as well. That was a great tussle, wasn't it? I tell you what I like about him, and I hate the running out of the line with the elbow, and that I hated that last year. That brain explosion. But he reminds me of those big front rowers when I used to first watch it. Sam Bacco and Steve Roach and the Chief and these guys that are really big men. And Lazo, you don't need them to do 70 minutes in a game, but every time they cart the ball up, that's just everything you love about rugby league.
You know the funny thing about it is he could have played professional golf.
What?
Yeah. So he was like when 2010 he was like on a 2 handicap. So he could have actually chosen golf over rugby league and decided he just loved running into people.
Can I add to the cleanup award to that this week as well before we get into your top 5 to finish?
Of course you can.
Russell Packer, who when he committed the offence and stomped on the guy and did all of that, I was sickened by that, as most people were. And I remember thinking at the time, he's gone to prison and then the Warriors got him back. A lot of debate on the radio about that at the time. And I was thinking, is this one of these occasions where it's not about giving somebody a second chance, but the whole thing about justice is there has to be rehabilitation introduced into this. And somebody, if they do get a second chance, are they going to seize it with both hands? Can they turn their life around and be a better human being? And isn't that what we want at the end of that whole process? Well, listening to that guy, Tony, he just blows me away. That guy is obviously, you know him well. I don't know him at all, but
yeah. Look, I know Rusty. I was the first. I sent him home. So I saw and me and Rusty talk about that all the time. I sent him home out of a junior Kiwi camp. He was junior Kiwi captain. And I said, but your behaviour's not right, So me and him have had a checkered past, but we've always spoken to each other. And I spent an hour talking to him on the weekend about his journey. And I'm like you, Marty. Like, yes, you did something pretty bad, but that doesn't mean that you bury people. He actually wants to help society. And I think we've got to get behind guys like that. And I'm not the only person. Like I said, he was up at the Chiefs. He was talking to all those young guys coming through. And who better to tell you about the mistakes that you can make?
As when he was explaining that, there's going to be a couple of kids in the Bay of Plenty that he talks to. No one will get through to them, but maybe he might. And I'm not going to get through to them if I sit here and say my life journey is something rather, because I'm not from that side of the tracks. I'm from a side of the tracks. But no, I was just really impressed by that, the fact that he actually...
Well done, Marty. That's a good call.
...is actually happy. And he's happy in his own skin with everything that has happened.
And they've got an overlap here.
TK's Top 5.
First try.
We wrap it up. Counting 5-1 at the moment is Manly, Panthers, Raiders, Roosters, Cowboys.
Number 5.
I'm going to give the 5th one to our team, the Warriors. I think the Warriors, they're 20 to 30 points better than some team at the moment. I'm sort of leaning towards the Knights. I think that they can get 20 or 30 points against them. And I think if they can get that, then they could possibly kick on a little bit. So, they're not far out. I know they're sitting at 11th at the moment, but they're not far off it.
Number 4.
Well, look, I've got to say it, but your Eels, mate. I've got to say, look, I honestly, last week, when they went out to 14-0, I thought the Sea Eagles are...
Yeah, buried them.
These guys are in the grand final, and then the Eels come back and they do that. I think the Eels are sitting in that top 8. I think they sit in my top 5 this week in 4.
Okay.
3.
Well, the Roosters, you've got to say Tedesco's back. They're fighting for their lives after last year. Joey Manu's apparently heading up to France to pick up some cash, and they've got some young guys. I think they still sign Sorley. I think that saga's not over. I think they sign him. Manu's got to go. That's where they're getting the money for. And I've got the Roosters sitting in the top 5.
Number 2.
Oh, number 2. This is one that I have to let go, but I still think it's the Broncos. I still think the Broncos. I'm going to give them one more week, and this is it. The Broncos, if they can show me that they've got the depth at halfback, fullback, and front row this week, they'll still be in my top 4 at the end of the year.
Number 1.
There's no one else. Nathan Cleary, player of the round. Player of the round. They're between Nathan Cleary and the next player was Daylight. And Tedesco and Trebojevic with that try that he scored against the Eels were pretty good. But as far as playing football and watching a masterclass, Penrith and Nathan Cleary, I'm going to say it's going to be hard to get the title back off the ground.
The man just set up the try.
That was the Rugby League Hour, brought to you by MicroBio Solutions Limited, solving environmental issues using green technologies. Visit microbio.co.nz.
It started with a Mitchell